Yesterday actually we have discussed about the different classification of wastewater, and then I started with the characteristics of the domestic sewage. Okay. First, there are three different characteristics: physical, chemical, and biological characteristics. In that, I think we have discussed about the temperature and color, then odor and turbidity. Today we'll see the chemical characteristics of domestic sewage. It includes like pH, alkalinity, solids, then biochemical oxygen demand. That is more of with organic matter. Okay. Then first you can see here that I have listed out the solids. Okay, the total solids. The total solids maybe we can say as a whole. Total solids may be classified as suspended solids and then dissolved solids, or we can say like organic solids and inorganic solids. The inorganic solids, or otherwise it is called as the fixed solids. These things maybe you have studied in your water supply. Okay, then or again we can say like the suspended solids, again based on that organic, it may be like suspended fixed solids, suspended dissolved solids. Similarly, dissolved solids, sorry, suspended organic solids.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, slide is not visible, ma'am.
Yeah, I can share my slide. Is it visible now? Students, is it visible?
Yeah, yes, ma'am, it's coming.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, total solids classified into suspended solids and dissolved solids, or we can classify them into organic solids and inorganic solids. Inorganic solids are otherwise called as fixed solids. Now, the suspended solids may be based on the organic and fixed nature. It may be again classified like suspended fixed solids, suspended organic solids, or we can say organic, or otherwise it is called as volatile. Okay, we can use either volatile, okay, volatile for the organic solids. For fixed, we can use the term called inorganic. Okay, and then similarly, dissolved solids also further classified like based on the like organic or volatile nature. It may be dissolved fixed solids, dissolved volatile solids. Okay, therefore you can know actually the solids may be either you can say as a whole as a organic or inorganic, or you can say as a dissolved and suspended. A further classification under each category you have to say like suspended means suspended fixed solids, suspended volatile solids. Similarly, dissolved fixed solids, dissolved volatile solids. Okay, these are the different classifications that you have studied already in your water supply. Yeah, these are the things I have explained here. Even dissolved also we have discussed about the two category, fixed and volatile. Then one more thing is called settlable solids. Okay, some part of like organic and inorganic solids may settle at the bottom of the Imhoff cone. Okay, this is the device. It's like a one small like a conical setup. Okay, like this arrangement. It's like a cylindrical vessel. Okay, it is a maybe marked with all like markings. Okay, in terms of ml. Okay, you have to pour the wastewater into this. Then you have to wait for 1 hour. After 1 hour, you have to note down how much volume of the wastewater is settled, or the sediments are settled at the bottom of your Imhoff cone. Okay, this is called Imhoff cone. Okay, based on this, we can say that the settlable solids present in the wastewater is, for example, the amount of solids settled at the bottom of the Imhoff cone is 30 ml. Then we can say that 30 ml per liter. That is the unit for settlable solids. Okay, is it clear? we are using the Imhoff cone. I will show some of the photographs later. We are using the Imhoff cone to measure the settlable solids, but we have to wait for an hour. We have to pour 1 liter of wastewater into the graduated Imhoff cone. Then at the end of 1 hour, you have to note down how much volume of the solids are settled at the bottom. That should be noted in terms of ml. Therefore, you have to express the settlable solids in terms of ml per liter. Then organic matter, this is the major portion. We have actually the wastewater means you have to study more of with organic matter. This is very, very important parameter. Okay, that we have already discussed that the organic matter includes proteins, carbohydrates and lipids. Okay, then the indirect, there are two methods by which we can measure the organic matter. Okay, I want to know organic solids we can measure, but the further classification like how much will be the carbohydrate, how much will be the protein or how much will be the lipids. Okay, then we are going with the two different methods. One is the direct determination, another one is the indirect determination. The indirect determination, okay, there are like by measuring the BOD, I will explain by measuring the biochemical oxygen demand. Okay, we can just measure how much will be the carbonaceous matter present in the wastewater, how much will be the nitrogenous organic matter present in the wastewater. Okay, the BOD includes, like generally we used to CBOD and NBOD. NBOD is nitrogenous BOD. CBOD is the carbonaceous BOD. Whatever the BOD maybe you have studied in the last semester is BOD 5,20. That is completely related with the carbonaceous BOD. During 5 days maximum only the carbonaceous organic matter alone will be oxidized. Okay, because nitrogen for the nitrification or the for the nitrogen demand. Okay, the carbonaceous bacteria, these bacteria are toxic to the nitrifiers. Therefore, initially you cannot expect anything the demand for nitrogenous BOD. There is no demand of oxygen for nitrogenous BOD at the initial stages. Maybe at the end of 5th day or 6th day, once the carbonaceous matters are oxidized, then only there is a demand for oxygen for the nitrogenous organic matter. Okay, then other method is the measurement of chemical oxygen demand. Here the chemical oxygen demand is how much amount of that oxygen is required chemically, okay, to stabilize the carbonaceous organic matter. Yesterday we have discussed about the organic solids. Organic solids have classifications like biodegradable and inert. Biodegradable and then inert. BOD is related with the amount of oxygen required for conversion of biodegradable portion of organic matter with the help of microorganisms. Okay, how much amount of oxygen is required for microorganisms to degrade biodegradable portion of organic matter. Whereas COD is because in order to oxidize the entire organic solids, okay, we have to find out how much amount of oxygen is required, okay, by using the strong oxidizing agent. For example, in lab we are using the potassium dichromate as the strong oxidizing agent under acidic conditions. That means under acidic conditions we are using the sulfuric acid to prepare the reagents for COD estimation. Okay, therefore under acidic conditions with the help of strong oxidizing agent that like potassium dichromate, we have to find out how much amount of oxygen is required to oxidize the entire organic solids. That is called as COD. Then the other indirect method is the estimation of like ultimate BOD, because during 5 days estimation of BOD 5,20, almost 67% of organic matter only will be oxidized. We have to wait for maybe in term for 10 days or 20 days for complete oxidation. Therefore, how much amount of oxygen is required for microorganisms for complete oxidation of biodegradable organic matter. Okay, that is called as the ultimate BOD. Is it clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if you have clarifications, then you can ask me, because you have to be very clear with like concepts of BOD, COD and ultimate BOD, because later we are going to see the derivations for how to estimate the BOD, how to estimate the ultimate BOD. Okay, then the direct determination is by measuring the total organic carbon. We have TOC analyzer in environmental lab. Okay, with the help of that, we can easily find out how much amount of carbon, organic carbon is present in the wastewater. Okay, then through the conversion of organic carbon into carbon dioxide. Okay, that at the end, like actually if you are passing the water sample or wastewater sample through the TOC analyzer, okay, then whatever the organic carbon is there, that may be converted into carbon dioxide. By measuring the carbon dioxide amount of carbon dioxide produced, then we can easily estimate how much amount of total organic carbon is present in the sample. And then other one is the total nitrogen, estimation of total nitrogen. These are all direct method of measuring the organic matter. Okay, then nitrogen includes like 4 different forms. Okay, one is organic nitrogen, ammonia nitrogen, nitrite and nitrate nitrogen. These are the 4 different forms of nitrogen. Initially in the wastewater, you can expect only the in the form of organic nitrogen. Okay, this organic nitrogen over a period of time, okay, maybe in that it will undergo hydrolysis and forms ammonia nitrogen. Then if there is any oxygen, if oxygen is present in the water medium, with the help of bacteria like Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter, this ammonia will be converted into nitrite nitrogen. Then further oxidation, okay, it leads to production of nitrate nitrogen. Is it clear? Okay, these are the different forms. Initially, it may be in the form of organic nitrogen, but initially undergoes hydrolysis and forms ammonia, then nitrite and nitrate. This is called nitrification process. Okay, this is the way we have to remove the organic nitrogen present in the wastewater. Okay, we have to follow. That means we have to supply sufficient oxygen for the microorganisms to convert ammonia to nitrite, nitrite to nitrate. Okay, then here actually they have used the term called total Geldoll nitrogen. Okay, it is the combination of organic nitrogen and ammonia nitrogen put together. It is called as the Geldoll nitrogen. Then yeah, these are all I have already explained. Okay, practically, yeah, nitrate is absent in raw sewage. Generally, it may be in the form of organic nitrogen. The organic nitrogen includes like proteins, amino acids, and urea. These components contributes organic nitrogen in the wastewater. Okay, then ammonia is the first stage of the decomposition. This is formed by the hydrolysis reactions. Then nitrite, it is by oxidation. Again, nitrate is further oxidation of nitrate to nitrate. Then similarly, we can by measuring the total phosphorus. Okay, we can estimate the organic, like how much fraction of organic phosphorus is there. Okay, because organic phosphorus is like it is combined with organic matter. You have 2 classifications. One is organic phosphorus, another one is inorganic phosphorus. It is measured in terms of orthophosphate and polyphosphate. Okay, because the problem of nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus is already we have discussed. Okay, it leads to eutrophication in water bodies. Okay, if it is not treated properly, it leads to eutrophication. That means it supports the growth of the algal plants. Again, that will create a lot of problem. Okay, then next one is the pH that we have already discussed. pH. What is pH, students? Yes.
Ma'am, for some of us, the slide is still in chemical oxygen demand slide.
It's not moving, huh?
Yes, ma'am. For some of us, it's
Yes.
lagging.
What about for others?
Yes, ma'am. It's lagging.
Yes, ma'am. Slide is not moving. Like in the
not
COD and ultimate BOD.
Okay, it is there. I have
And
just
now-
afterwards.
Now it's
I am in institute only. I don't know how to check it.
Ma'am, can you please like reshare the screen, ma'am, one second?
Yeah, I will reshare the screen. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am. Now it's moving.
Yes, ma'am.
It is moving now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have explained about nitrogen. You can see now what are the things I have explained to you. Okay, this is with the total nitrogen. And then, yeah, different classifications of nitrogen, organic nitrogen, ammonia, nitrite and nitrate. Then I discussed about the total phosphorus. Is it moving now?
Yes, ma'am. It's moving.
Okay. Yeah, total phosphorus, it includes organic phosphorus and inorganic phosphorus. Actually, the excess of nutrients will create a lot of issues that I have already discussed that leads to eutrophication. But at the same time, for the survival of bacteria, because most of the wastewater treatment, municipal wastewater treatment is with microorganisms only. Therefore, it needs some nutrients for their growth. Therefore, it provides some essential nutrient in biological wastewater treatment. Okay, this point is very important. Okay, both nitrogen and phosphorus is required for microorganisms growth. Okay, because some non-pathogenic bacteria are helpful in wastewater treatment. Then pH. Okay, can you just tell me what is pH? Yeah, before just explaining about the pH, can you tell me what is pH? Students?
Now it says whether the compound is acidic or basic.
Okay, how do you define pH? Okay, it's fine.
That's
Whether
like
that
concentration of negative log of
H
H plus ions.
negative logarithm of
H
H
plus
plus ion.
H plus ion. Concentration or activity? Have you studied about two terms, concentration and activity?
Ma'am, it is negative log of hydrogen ion concentration.
Concentration, okay. It's a negative logarithm of hydrogen ion activity. Okay, I am using like the closed bracket like this. This symbol represents the activity. Concentration means you have to use the square bracket like this. Okay, pH is the negative logarithm of hydrogen ion activity. Please read the concept of activity and concentration that we will see tomorrow. Okay, then the pH value says whether the sewage is alkaline or acidic. Okay, what will be the normal pH value of the sewage? It may be slightly alkaline. Okay, it is near to pH 7. Then especially during the biological oxidation processes under anaerobic conditions, the pH may come down to 6 or 6.5. Okay, due to the production of acids, the pH may come down. Okay, is it clear, students? Generally, normal sewage is alkaline in nature, but during the process, during the treatment, there is a slight reduction in pH that depends on the process, whether it is an aerobic process or anaerobic process, the pH may come down. Then alkalinity. What is alkalinity? Students, yeah, I need some answers from you. What is alkalinity?
Basic nature.
Basic nature, okay. What is the correct definition of alkalinity? It's like a acid neutralizing capacity. Is it clear? Acid neutralizing capacity is defined in terms of alkalinity. Alkalinity is caused by bicarbonate, carbonate and hydroxyl ions. Okay, HCO3 minus, CO3 2 minus and then OH minus. Okay. What is the pH of rainwater? Is it neutral or slightly acidic? What is the pH of?
Acidic.
Ma'am, 6.5
Acidic.
approximately.
6.5.
5 to 7.
Why it is
6.5.
slightly acidic? Why it is slightly acidic?
Due to the slight amount of sulfur and something like that.
No. It is not due to the sulfur. Any other answer? No, it's slightly acidic. It is fine, 6.5. But the reason is different. Have you studied about carbonic acid system? Carbonic acid? No.
It's a weak acid.
It's a weak acid. Okay. For example, the ambient air contains carbon dioxide. Then like a rainwater, what it forms carbonic acid. It's 2CO3. Okay, because of this is the weak acid, the pH may come down slightly, maybe less than like approximately maybe with the 6 to 6.5. Then again, this is actually not stable. Okay, these are the weak acids. It may undergo it may dissociate into H plus and HCO3 minus. Then again, it may be dissociated into like H plus and CO3 2 minus. Okay, these are the ways by which the water gets the natural alkalinity. Okay, natural alkalinity in water is by bicarbonates and carbonates, not by hydroxyl ions. Generally in water, you can expect only carbonates and bicarbonates. Okay, by nature. Okay, drinking water generally contains carbonates and bicarbonates. Unless otherwise, if you have added a strong base then only you can expect the alkalinity due to hydroxyl ions. Or if you have like any industrial wastewater with some, if they have used like a caustic soda, okay, or sodium carbonate in their process, then you can expect like hydroxyl ions. Okay, otherwise maybe the natural in drinking water, I'm saying as a whole in drinking water is mainly the natural alkalinity is by carbonates and bicarbonates. Okay, but similarly the wastewater, if it is in a municipal wastewater, it have like more of carbonates and bicarbonates. Natural alkalinity may be there. And then whereas if it is an industrial wastewater, you can expect hydroxyl ions. And then in addition to that, maybe you can expect chlorides. Okay, maybe some, it is especially from the from the industrial side, okay, industrial process, you can expect the presence of large amount of chlorides in the wastewater. Then oil and grease. Oil and grease is actually it is especially from the food waste. Okay, you can expect oil and grease. Okay, a fraction of organic matter which is soluble in hexane. We are using the hexane to extract the oil and grease from the wastewater, especially during the measurement of oil and grease. We will use the hexane to extract. Okay, and then the sources are especially from the kitchen waste. You can expect oil and grease. Okay, these are the important chemical characteristics of the wastewater. Okay, then do you have any doubts, students?
No.
Yeah. Then next one is the main organisms present in the domestic sewage. The main organisms are like bacteria, fungi, rotifers, and then protozoa. These are the algae. These are the microorganisms generally present in the sewage. Some of the microorganisms are like non-pathogens. Some of the microorganisms are pathogens. They are creating a lot of health issues to the human being. Okay, then some bacteria. Okay, generally mostly the bacteria. Okay, that are really helpful in wastewater treatment. That means conversion of the unstable organic matter into stable end products like carbon dioxide plus nitrate, then or nitrogen. Okay, it may be finally it may be converted into nitrogen. Similarly, sulfurous organic matters are converted into sulfate. Really, they are helping in conversion of the unstable, okay, the unstable form of organic matter to stable form. And then these organisms are unicellular bacteria are unicellular organisms. Okay, it may be present in various forms and sizes. Some bacteria are pathogenic, some of them are non-pathogenic. Non-pathogenic bacteria are helpful in wastewater treatment. It may be like we can say like aerobic bacteria, classification aerobic, then anaerobic bacteria, then we can say facultative bacteria. Facultative bacteria. For aerobic means like this type of bacteria requires oxygen for the survival. Also it requires for the conversion of organic matter to carbon dioxide. It is similar to the human being, like aerobic bacteria. So how we are surviving, we are taking the oxygen, we are taking the food. Same way it takes oxygen from the atmosphere, or we have to supply oxygen, and also that it takes food from the like a wastewater and converts that one into carbon dioxide plus water. And then anaerobic, okay, this type of bacteria, okay, does not need any oxygen for the survival. Okay, then facultative, it may survive in the presence or in the absence of oxygen. Okay, these are the actually different classifications of like a bacteria. Generally, the bacteria these are generally heterotrophic in nature. Heterotrophic means like it takes like a carbon source from the organic matter. Okay, therefore it is heterotrophic. Okay, if it takes from inorganic compounds, carbon source from inorganic compounds, then it is called autotrophs. Okay, but most of the bacteria are heterotrophs in nature. And then other one is the archaea. Then it is similar to the bacteria in size and basic cell components. Okay, these type of things helpful in anaerobic processes. Okay, but we are just concentrating mainly on bacteria. Then algae. Okay, this is autotrophic because it is taking the carbon source from carbon dioxide. Okay, autotrophic. Photosynthetic, energy from sunlight. Therefore, it is algae is autotrophic photosynthetic organisms containing the chlorophyll. It is really helpful in for example, yesterday we have discussed about the river pollution. No, river used to have some capability. That means it can purify by themselves over a period of time. No need, for example, somebody is discharging the wastewater. Yesterday I have plotted the oxygen profile also. Okay, the oxygen profile is like this is, it will go like this, it will, or sometimes it may okay, it is negative also. That means there is no dissolved oxygen. But we are not giving any treatment. But over a period of time, the river or the streams recovers, okay, from its pollution status due to some reasons, okay, some mechanisms, some treatment is happening automatically. That is called self-purification of streams. Okay, thing is that the river water used to have a lot of oxygen. Then the wastewater, whatever thing you are discharging into the river water contains a lot of bacteria. Therefore, bacteria utilizes the oxygen and degrade the organic matter. Then it will be degraded over a period of time. Then further addition of oxygen is helpful in increasing the dissolved oxygen content. This is dissolved oxygen. Okay. Then if the wastewater contains algae, okay, that will have a symbiotic relationship with the bacteria. For example, okay, you can see that this is the water. This is the water. Like it is a mixture of wastewater. Then algae is if algae is there in the water body, then it takes carbon source from the sunlight and then releases the oxygen during photosynthesis. This oxygen actually is utilized by the bacteria. This bacteria will act on the organic matter and then converts this organic matter into carbon dioxide. Then again algae takes carbon source from carbon dioxide, also the energy from the sunlight. Then like this process continues. This is called bacteria-algae symbiosis. Okay, therefore algae helps in the treatment of the wastewater by it is not directly participating, but it is releasing the oxygen that is utilized by the bacteria for the conversion of organic matter. Is it clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Then other one is the fungi. Okay, these are the aerobic multicellular non-photosynthetic heterotrophic. Heterotrophic means it is taking the carbon source from the organic matter. Okay, then even these type of species can grow under low pH conditions, especially for industrial wastewater. We can use the fungi for the treatment. Okay, then protozoa. Okay, these are also unicellular organisms without cell wall. Okay, then these are generally helpful in biological treatment system, especially feed themselves on bacteria, algae, and other microorganisms. Generally, the protozoa generally called as the polishes of the effluent. Polishes of the effluent. For example, after the removal of organics from the wastewater, some more species of bacteria may present. Therefore, it may act on that and then it consumes bacteria. Okay, therefore, it is generally called as the polishes of the effluent. Protozoa is called as the polishes of the effluent. And then viruses, these are the pathogenic. Okay, it is very difficult to remove virus from the wastewater. And then helminths. Okay, these are the different species. Okay, present in the wastewater. Some of the species are really helpful in wastewater treatment. Students, is it clear? You have completed with physical,
Yes,
chemical, and
Yes, ma'am.
biological characteristics of the wastewater. Now we will see the important things. One is the solids. Then we'll see how to estimate the BOD in the laboratory. Okay. Yeah, these are the some of the pictures of these spaces. Okay, microalgae. Okay, we have like a microscope in our laboratory. Okay, then with the help of that, we can easily visualize these species. Yeah. Now, as a whole, okay, we can say instead of all characteristics, physical, chemical, and biological, the main important characteristics in wastewater are solids. Then we have to measure the either we have to use direct method or indirect method to measure the organic matter. Then nitrogen and phosphorus. This is generally defined as nutrients. And then indicators of fecal contamination. Indicators of fecal contamination, like fecal coliforms. Okay, therefore solids. Then either you have to measure BOD or COD, that is to indicate the organic matter, the nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus. Finally, to represent the presence of microorganisms, we have to go with the indicator organisms or fecal coliforms. And then, yeah, solids, maybe you have already studied in your water supply engineering, in the environmental engineering 1. Okay, I don't want to concentrate more on that. Okay, maybe you can see the classification of the solids based on the particle size. If it is below 10 power minus 3, okay, that means dissolved solids or like with a diameter of less than 10 power minus 3 micrometer. Okay, the solids having size less than 10 power minus 3. This region is called as dissolved solids. Then colloidal. Okay, colloidal is like between 10 power minus 3 to 10 power 0 micrometer. Okay, that is called colloidal solids. Then suspended solids is the size greater than 10 power 0 is termed as the suspended solids. In river water or like turbidity is mainly caused by like colloidal as well as the suspended solids. Therefore, mainly to remove the colloidal solids, only we are going with the sedimentation aided with coagulation. Okay, because it takes a lot of time for settling. Then, whereas in case of wastewater, we are just concentrating in terms of dissolved organic solids, because the dissolved organic solids only creating lot of problem in receiving water bodies. Dissolved organic solids. Suspended can be easily removed by settling. Okay, but the dissolved solids dissolved organic solids in the form of dissolved nature cannot be removed. Okay, therefore we have to go with some specific treatments, like with the help of microorganisms, we have to remove the dissolved organic solids. Okay. Then yeah, that and all we have already discussed. Either we can go with the volatile, like fixed solids. Yeah, I mentioned about Imhoff cone, no students. Yeah, this is the Imhoff cone. It's a graduated cylinder. You can pour like a 1 liter of like wastewater into this. Then you have to wait for 1 hour. After that, you have to just note down how much volume of solids are settled at the bottom. With that, we can easily estimate the amount of settleable solids. You can see here, this is the wastewater. They have poured into the Imhoff cone. Maybe after a period of time, you can see the amount of solids at the bottom. It is settled at the bottom. And then, yeah, coming to the measurement. Anyway, this time you have a lab, but you are not going to do lab in practical. You are just reading how to do this. Okay, maybe you have studied how to measure the solids in the laboratory. Okay, this is actually we have to take the known volume of the sample. Maybe for 20 ml you have to take the wastewater, and then you have to just take the crucible. Here there are 2 different types of crucible. One is the like silica crucible. The crucible is made up of silica as well as the porcelain material, different other material. Okay, porcelain dish. Silica means it will withstand very high temperature. Okay. Then, but porcelain dish, it can withstand only like maybe it can withstand only up to 105 degree or 110 degree temperature. Therefore, you have to be very careful whether you are going to measure only the total dissolved solids or total suspended solids, or you are interested in total volatile solids or total fixed solids. If you want to measure what volatile solids or fixed solids, because we are using the muffle furnace. Okay, that means you know the concept how to find out the volatile solids. Okay, then we have to heat the sample at a very high temperature, maybe around 650 degrees Celsius or 450 degree Celsius. Therefore, we have to go with only the silica crucible. Silica crucible alone withstand very high temperature. But if you want to do only total dissolved solids or total suspended solids, because we are just evaporating the sample only at 105 degree temperature, okay, 103 to 105 degree temperature. Therefore, you can go directly with the ordinary porcelain dish. Okay. Therefore, if you want to measure further total volatile, total fixed solids, then you have to use the silica crucible. Students, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, therefore the selection of crucible is very important. For water, maybe we are not going with this generally because we are assuming the water is free from pollution. Okay, maybe the filter water, somebody wants to test the filter water, and then no need to go with the volatile and fixed solids. Okay, unless otherwise if you have a doubt, maybe the water may be contaminated, then you have to go with the volatile solids and fixed solids. Therefore, you have to go only with the silica crucible. Okay. What is the procedure to find out the solids? Anyone can just tell me that what is the procedure, or how do you estimate the solids in the laboratory? Students?
We have to take take water sample and then weigh
Maybe
along
20
with the
ml
containers.
sample. Yeah, you have to note
Weigh
down
along with
the empty weight of the container. Wait, first initially you have to note down empty weight of the container. That is maybe W1 in terms of gram. Then you have to pour the 20 ml of water. Then keep it in the hot air oven at 105 degree temperature for complete dryness. Okay, you have to wait for a day for the that means complete evaporation of water in the container. Then after that you have to note down empty weight of the container plus dry solids. Then that is W2. This is W1. This is W2. From this, we can find out the total solids is equal to W2 minus W1 divided by the volume of the sample. Volume of the sample is maybe 20 ml. This is expressed in ml. This is expressed in gram. Therefore, but we have to convert that one into milligram per liter. Then it is, you have to multiply W2 minus W1 by V into 10 power 6 in terms of milligram per liter. Is it clear, students? Measurement of total solids is very simple. Only thing is you have to just note down the empty weight and then place your sample, keep it in the hot air oven. Then after complete dryness, you again note down the weight of the crucible with the dry solids, that is W2. With the difference, we will get what will be the total solids. Then if you want to like a further classification of total volatile solids, you just keep this after measuring W2, just keep it in the muffle furnace. Muffle furnace, okay, with a maybe 550 degree temperature. Then what will happen during that time? If you are keeping the sample in the muffle furnace, that means you are keeping the
volatile solids.
Yeah, volatile solids will be like organic solids will be converted into carbon dioxide. It may be completely removed from the system. Maybe after 15 minutes of muffle furnace, okay, then the remaining solids are only fixed solids. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, empty weight plus dry solids. This dry solids is only fixed solids. Because during that burning time, the carbonaceous matters are converted into carbon dioxide. And this is W3. Now, how do you find out the organic solids? Total organic solids or total volatile solids? How do you find out the total?
Total solids minus W3.
No. We have to find out volatile. No, we have W2 is there. Then we have W3. How do you find out the total volatile solids? W2 minus
W3 by volume.
W3 divided by volume of sample taken into 10 power 6. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Then total fixed solids. That is equal to total solids minus total volatile solids. This is one way to find out the volatile solids and fixed solids. Students, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Here, I started with the total solids. Then initially I use the hot air oven to find out the total solids. After that, you just keep the same crucible into the muffle furnace for 15 minutes at 550 degree temperature. Then during that time, the organic fraction is converted into carbon dioxide. The remaining is you have to note down the weight, that is W3. The W2 minus W3, okay, always W3 is less than W2. That is where you have to just note down, okay. Sometimes, no, without understanding, the people used to say W3 is greater than W2. There is no way, okay. Always W2 is greater than W3. Then the difference will give volatile solids, okay. Then total solids minus total volatile solids will give total fixed solids. Then what about dissolved solids? How do you find out the total dissolved solids?
Take another 20 ml sample and pass it through.
Yeah, 20 ml sample. Okay.
And then pass it through filter paper.
Yeah, pass through the filter paper, Ottman filter paper. Then you have to take the filtrate. Okay, that is the you can, for example, you have to use the conical flask with the filter paper. You have to, using the filter paper, you have to, through the filter paper, you have to pass the sample and then take this filtrate and then find out, like note down what initial W1, that is the empty weight of the crucible. And then you just transfer this water, okay, filtered water into the crucible, and then keep it in the hot air oven. W2, that means after evaporation, you just note down what is W2, that is weight of crucible plus dry solids. The dry solids are completely dissolved solids. Okay, the difference will give W2 minus W1 divided by volume into 10 power 6 will give the total dissolved solids. Either if you want to find out how much will be the total dissolved volatile solids, you can proceed with a similar procedure, whatever things we have discussed earlier. Okay, maybe the same container may be again placed in the muffle furnace in order to find out the total dissolved volatile solids. Okay, then with the help of that we can find out total dissolved fixed solids. Okay, this is the way you have to proceed for dissolved solids. Somebody is interested in only suspended solids. Okay, either they have to measure both. Okay, suspended solids, total suspended solids, they have to measure total solids and then total dissolved solids. The difference will give suspended solid. This is one method. Okay, you have to do two experiments, total solids and total dissolved solids, to get the suspended solids. But other way is, okay, maybe with one experiment itself we can easily find out what will be the amount of suspended solids. That means you are filtering the sample through the filter paper. Okay, therefore instead of taking the filtrate, maybe you can take the filter paper after filtration and then find out what will be the amount of dry solids deposited on the filter paper. By measuring that, we can get total suspended solids. Is it clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Please go through the concepts, what are things you have studied in the last semester. Okay, this is with respect to the solids. Okay, then like this, maybe based on the questions, okay, you should know that how to calculate the suspended solids, how to calculate the dissolved solids. Maybe I can give some 2-3 problems later. Maybe you can practice it. Okay, because estimation of suspended solids involved with like not only the empty weight of the crucible, it is also involved with, you have to note down the initial weight of the paper, filter paper. Okay, therefore you have to note down the initial weight of the filter paper, and then you have to subtract to get the dissolved suspended solids. Then coming to the next one is the BOD. What is the time? Shall I proceed for 2-3 minutes, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Is it visible, my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Here, just I have like presented some pictures of BOD bottle. Okay, maybe you have studied BOD. Okay, how to measure the BOD in the laboratory. Okay, that I will explain, and then maybe we'll move on to the mathematical modeling of BOD concept. Okay. Now, anyone can say what is BOD? Now we have discussed so many times about BOD. Maybe anyone can just define what is BOD. Students? What is BOD? We have discussed now.
And the concentration of oxygen required to decompose the organic biodegradable.
Don't say biodegradable. Yeah, it's correct.
Organic
amount of
oxygen
amount
concentration required to decompose the biodegradable organic matter present in the water sample.
Present in the wastewater. Okay. Then how do you measure? Maybe have you studied BOD concept in last semester?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you just
Yes,
tell
ma'am.
me that? How do you estimate the BOD in the lab? I think I can stop with this. I will start BOD estimation procedure tomorrow.